I should like to state at the start that I am not now and never have been a communist.
Ask them if they ever found in me anything except the highest adherence to duty and honor.
If I am lying, I should go to jail. If Mr. Chambers is lying, he should go to jail.
I am not and never have been a communist.
In this cell, there was also Owen J. Lattimore.
All that Senator McCarthy has been trying to do is expose the communists who have infiltrated the Department of the Army.
And let me say that I am honored when people come up to me on the streets, perhaps I don't deserve this honor, and say, you're the man who killed Joe McCarthy.
The rapid decline of the power and prestige of the United States undoubtedly will be recorded by future scholars as one of the most amazing events in history. With the defeat of the Axis powers in 1945, the United States stood at the apex of world leadership. She commanded the most powerful military force the world had ever seen. Her economy bolstered scores of nations. She was respected even by her conquered enemies. But long before the children born in that war could vote, the tide had already turned. And by the time their children had grown, the United States had retreated from victory and was struggling for survival in a hostile world. Her military forces had become inferior to those of her enemies. Her economy was reeling under attack by foreign competitors. She was at the mercy of outside energy sources. Her alliances were crumbling. She was hated and jeered at the United Nations. She had been forced to retreat on every continent, while during that same time, over 70 million people each year were being absorbed by international communism. All of this in less than 2 generations. Now the question is why? The accepted view in many circles is that it just happened that way. There were no particular reasons except the normal changing currents of history in an era of rising expectations. There is, of course, another view, a view that is more skeptical of the supposed blind forces of history, and which sees events as caused by people with motives and goals and long-range plans. This is the conspiratorial view of history, as opposed to the accidental view, and it is the conspiratorial view that we shall present in this program. It's our specific purpose to explore the possibility that America's retreat from victory since the end of World War II has not been caused by random forces of history, but by design, not by a confusion factor, but by the subversion factor.
The most significant aspect of communist expansion since 1945 is the fact that it has not been accomplished by traditional military force. These countries were not conquered by external invasion of Soviet troops, but by internal terrorism, revolution, and subversion by people who were citizens of each target nation. In 1967, Soviet Premier Brezhnev said, "Marxist-Leninists have always understood that socialism cannot be implanted by one country into another by military force, that it is the product of the internal development of a given society." Brezhnev's predecessor, Nikita Khrushchev, was even more explicit when he said, "I am convinced that tomorrow the red flag will fly over the United States, but we will not fly the flag. It will be the American people themselves." The historical record is clear. The prime directive of communist strategy is conquest from within. The second most important lesson to be learned is that at the time of takeover, the actual number of communists in any country is usually less than 3%, and in many cases, such as the Soviet Union itself, it has been less than 1% of the total population. The place to begin this inquiry, therefore, is to examine the strategy by which a tiny minority can capture control of an existing government. The success of this strategy has been largely the result of two factors working together. One is the mobilization of mass action among the non-communist population, demonstrations, general strikes, or insurrection. The other is the paralysis of the target government, the inability to fight back effectively, indecision, delays, blunders. It's not surprising, therefore, to learn that a major part of communist strategy is devoted to techniques for creating exactly these two conditions: mobilization of the masses and paralysis of the government. In August of 1922, at a secluded resort near Bridgman, Michigan, law enforcement officers raided a meeting of the top leaders of the Communist Party of America. Hundreds of secret documents were seized. One of the most revealing of these was a directive from Moscow, signed by members of the Executive Committee of the Communist International. In this document, it was firmly established that the Communist Party of America was not independent, but merely a branch of the international organization under firm control of the Soviets. The directive said, "The ruling of the Communist International must be accepted as obligating every member of the Communist Party of America, minority or majority." Another important document was written by the American communists themselves. It said, "The great mass of the working class cannot be formed into organizations consciously under the control of the communists. The communists, therefore, are compelled to function as an underground party. The Communist Party is obliged to penetrate all existing working class and semi-working class organizations to reach the masses, using these organizations as tools and auxiliaries of the Communist Party." The directive made clear that under favorable circumstances, it would be desirable to allow the Communist Party to come out in the open and to appear as a political party. But then it said, "Even though the Communist Party shall have come above ground, the underground organization remains as the directing organ of the open Communist Party." It's important to realize that the open Communist Party, which offers candidates for public office, is not the real organizational force of the movement. It is merely one of the multitude of surface organizations designed to lead the masses. In some countries, such as France and Italy, where communism is viewed merely as a popular political movement, this may be a major channel of mass influence.